welcome back. More Bloodborne. Today, we're going to read items, because I didn't do that in the first episode. Even though I touted the cool thing about this game is the plot is in the items, so it's kind of a lot of reading, but not really. Some of the item descriptions are going to have duplicates, like armor sets. Explodes in a raging flame when thrown against an object. One of the oldest hunter tools available in the workshop. Since the tragedy that struck old Yarnum, fire has become a staple of beast hunts. It is thought to cleanse impurity. Certain types of beasts have an abnormal fear of the flame. Yeah, beasts don't like flame. When Sarn hits its mark, the target is drenched in oil, made extremely flammable. Fire is commonplace in the hunt, and oil urns accentuate its effects. Sometimes, when hunters burn beasts, they appear intoxicated by the euphoria of purification. So the hunters get off on doing this to people. Blood cocktail that releases an odor when thrown that attracts bloodthirsty beasts. A precious tool in sadly short supply. In Yarnum, they produce more blood than alcohol, as the former is more intoxicating. Small pebbles can be thrown at foes. Quite thrilling. Alright, cold blood dew. Drop out of cold blood containing blood echoes, used to gain blood echoes. It's basically an itemized form of blood echoes when you need them. Hunters sustained by the dream gain strength from blood echoes. They imbibe the blood with thoughts of reverence, indeed gratitude, for their victims. Dangling upside-down rune etched in one's mind, symbol of a hunter. By focusing one's thoughts on this rune, a hunter loses all their blood echoes, but awakens fresh, as if it were just a bad dream. This is the equivalent of the Dark Sign in Dark Souls 2. I think it was Dark Souls 2. Messengers are inhabitants of the dream who revere the brave hunters. Use them to send messages to other worlds. Leave notes with messengers. Read the notes left to messengers in other worlds, and rate notes to reach out to hunters across planes of existence. So this is how you write notes and have other players rate your shit. Bloodstone shard, upgrade material. Solid shard that forms in cold blood. After death, a substance in the blood hardens, and that which does not crystallize is called a bloodstone. At the workshop, these bloodstones are embedded in weapons to fortify them. So this is how you make your weapons better. Saw cleaver, one of the trick weapons of the workshop, commonly used in the hunting business. This saw, effective at drawing the blood of beasts, transforms into a long cleaver that makes use of centrifugal force. The saw, with its set of bloodletting teeth, has become a symbol of the hunt, and only grows in effectiveness the more grotesquely transformed the beast. This weapon, among others, has a hidden attribute. It's not hidden, but you wouldn't know about it unless you looked, called serrated. And serrated weapons do more damage against beasts. There's one other type, I don't know what it's called, but it's just another type of damage, and it does good against aliens. The alien class enemies are called kin. Pistol made at the workshop for hunters stalking beasts. Hunter firearms are specially crafted to employ quicksilver bullets fused with the wielder's own blood, boosting damage against beasts. The pistol is a quicker draw than the blunderbuss, allowing for speedier response to attacks. So your pistols, they barely do damage. Even if you build into blood tinge, your pistols don't do shit for damage. They're not reliable, but you mainly use them for parrying. That's pretty much all you would. So there's really no reason to use the blunderbuss. The blunderbuss it shoots multiple pellets, but each pellet does less damage than this one single shot. I don't think it's even viable to go through this game shooting things. I don't know why they have multiple types of pistols. Maybe it just depends on playstyle. I'm not sure. A torch. Common torch formed by wrapping a pine resin-drenched cloth around the end of a long stick. Hunters choose torches not only because the hunt leads them to the darkest nooks, but also because certain creatures they encounter are possessed of a deathly fear of the flame. Some monsters in this game, actually only one that I can think of, runs away from you and shields its eyes when you walk up to it with a torch. It's useful, but it's for one monster. Black Hood. Hood worn upon waking up to the nightmare of blood and beast. Perhaps its wearer had to stay out of sight and travel by cover of darkness. Without memory, who will ever know? This is an implication that your player character doesn't have a memory of why he's in Yarnum. Not typical clothing for Yarnum. Perhaps it is of foreign origin. It is said, after all, the traveler came to Yarnum from afar. We knew this. A faint memory recalls blood ministration, involving the transfusion of unknown blood. not long after the nightmare began. Not typical clothing for Yarnum, perhaps of foreign origin, without memory, who will ever know. See, these are duplicate, some of them are duplicate text, some of it isn't, so you gotta be pretty thorough. We're gonna put on the Molotov cocktails here. Alright, so you notice the doll is still not awake. That's because I came back to the hunter's dream without getting insight, and you get insight from finding bosses, and you get an extra insight if you kill the boss on your first go. So what I'm going to try to do is kill the first boss. It's probably not going to work out, but I suppose you win, you lose. We did, however, unlock the first shortcut of a fashion. So we can pretty much run straight to the first boss if we desired, but there's still some things I want to do in the level, like getting the first, get the first armor set here, and arguably it's aesthetically the most appealing armor set in the game to me. Of course, it's a subjective opinion. Most of the armor in this game, can't even call it armor, they're clothes. Most of the clothes in this game kind of look shit in my opinion. Like the shawl, this right here, this I don't like this. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't look good. Kind of a simplistic explanation of why I don't like it. I suppose I could take it off. Yeah, and I have purple hair. Yeah, that was a good idea. Oh, look, I still have the shawl, though. Blech. So the player character, as implied from the description of his armor, does not know why he's here, aside from the fact that he made a contract with the old man in the wheelchair in the beginning. And the blood contract is, when the hunt began, the healing church left us, blocking the great bridge at the cathedral ward, and old Yarnum burned to the ground at moonlight night. So the healing church kind of fucked over old Yarnum and left it to just fester and die from the plague. I can hear whispers. Yeah, the first boss is gonna... I just... You play this game so much, you get a feel for how much damage you should be doing and where and why. Just not having built into skill or strength and going for arcane at this early stage is just... It is the worst feeling. So the first boss is over here. I guess I could just go... I could try it. Big parry window. And again, losing 5,000. Oh, we lived! Magic pixel! Don't you do it. Losing 5,000 souls at this point would suck, but you never know unless you try. I'm gonna put my hood back on just for the defense, even though the clothing in this game provides little to no defense. You kind of want to stay unlocked from this guy, because the camera's going to pan you away from him, and it's really annoying. You can cheat in a visceral. Oh my god, it's not going to give it to me. That sucked. That's his grab right there. He's not the most difficult boss. It's just... in the beginning of the game, it's really hard to gauge what enemies do. I mean, this is an incredibly daunting boss for the first boss of the game. But realistically, it's not the hardest thing to kill. You just need to know how to dodge. This is your first dodge lesson. Like, getting invincibility frames is key, but when the boss's hitbox becomes his whole body, it's really shitty. I'm using my weapon tricked right now so that I can get more range. Bosses have phases as well, and their body parts are damageable in piecemeal. So if you do enough damage, for example, to his left arm, it'll bleed out, and then you can subsequently do more damage to it. I'm not sure if this... see, I just damaged his right arm here. Don't grab me. Woo! That was close. But then he heals it, and you'll see the heal when he does it. It'll suck blood from, like, the atmosphere into it. I think I just damaged it even more. Or that was his leg. You can never tell. That was a cheap shot. And of course you want to be somewhat aggressive. Of course, see, that's the heal right there. Fire works well. That back swipe always gets me. He does it with his left arm too, and it's like insanely fast. Oh, this is bad. Really bad. Of course, I think headshots do more damage to him if you can manage to hit him in the head. Just throw Molotov cocktails at him. It seems to work pretty well. I think this is how you're supposed to do this fight. You're supposed to, like, just lob cocktails at him until you run out. Yeah, that does actually a shit ton of damage. I'm surprised I won that, actually. I've never cheesed him with cocktails before like that. I'm actually surprised that it did that much damage. I didn't think it did that much. Anyways, that's the first boss. That's the Cleric Beast. He just gave me an item. What did he give me? Did he give me an item? Yes, the Sword Hunter badge. One of the badges crafted by the Healing Church. The silver sword is a symbol of the Church Hunter. Ludwig was the first of many Healing Church Hunters to come, many of whom were clerics, as it was clerics transformed into the most hideous beasts. And now my friend is flaring me with invitations because he's annoying. But you'll see now in the top right, I have 4 insight. I got 1 insight from coming in here to look at the boss, and then if you kill the boss on the first try, you get another 3, apparently. And then I think you get 2 for just killing a boss, which is nice. So now we're going to go back, and the doll is going to be awake, moving around. And she's going to let us level up our character. There she is. So we just get the Beckoning Bell and the Silencing Pistol. These are for multiplayer. The Beckoning Bell, discovered in the Underground Labyrinth, its ring resonates across worlds, and the first hunter used it as a special signal to call hunters from other worlds to cross the gap and cooperate. A human must use insight to ring the bell, but the benefits of the cross-world cooperation are many. So all you do is you use this item, and then it'll summon another player into your world who's using another type of bell. It's called the Resonating Bell. Silencing Blank. Hunters are linked by the resonance of bells with special encoded timbre. This inaudible burst disrupts such resonant. Fire to end cooperation and prevent further cooperation. Firing this does not disrupt the resonance of a sinister bell. So this is the Black Crystal. This allows you to stop ringing your bell. This allows you to dismiss a friendly who joins your game. And then the Sinister Bell that it made mention of is how you invade in this game, and you can't stop someone from ringing that, because that would be broken. This is Gearman.
You must You're sure to be in a fine haze about now, but don't think too hard about all of this. Just go out and kill a few beasts. It's for your own good. You know, it's just what hunters do. You'll get used to it. This was once a safe haven for hunters. A workshop where hunters used blood to enhance their weapons. And flesh. You're welcome to use whatever you find.
Ooh, I think I might have just skipped the dialogue on accident. I don't know how I did that.
Should it please you?
Yeah, and he lets you use his doll. He's implying he has sex with the fucking doll regularly.
This was one.
Alright. What do we have here? To escape the dreadful hunter's dream, halt the source of the spreading scourge of beasts, lest the night carry on forever. One of the major motifs of this game is dimensional travel. Kind of inception and dream within a dream. So this is the hunter's dream, Gehrman being the hunter. This plane of existence, this area, it's a physical place. It exists, but it's a manifestation of his mind, which you figure out later is given to him by a cosmic being, or some of the main, they're apathetic antagonists, but the main antagonists of this game are like kind of Lovecraftian eldritch horrors, like Cthulhu beasts. But you can see anyways that this is a very strange place, very creepy. You can actually find this very area in the real world when you go out of the hunter's dream. There is a place, and it's called the Old Workshop. Anyways, let's level up.
I honor, and I will channel them into your strength. You will hunt beasts, and I will be here for you to embolden your sickly
I believe this is the same voice actress as the one who is in Demon Souls. It's the same concept. You go back to the Nexus and she levels you up.
Very well. Let the echoes become your strength. Let me stand close. Now shut your eyes.
Alright. So, in the beginning, given that we're going to just be weak, we're going to want Vitality to give us HP. I don't really know if it would do for us to even boost Arcane at this point, because by the time we get our Arcane Gem, it just completely transfers the damage over. We want our Endurance to 15. 15 is actually a good stopping point for Endurance for the whole game. Depending on how you play, Endurance increases your stamina. If you play quick strike, get in, get out, you don't need barely any stamina, especially with really heavy weapons, because you can only get 1 or 2 swings out of them anyways. So boosting your stamina and gaining levels will realistically only get you, after a time, 1 extra swing of your weapon. Stamina is not really a stat you want to focus in too much. It's not like Dark Souls where you can boost your stamina and it gives you other innate bonuses to your health or your defense or things like that. Every level up you get in this game boosts your defense. So overall, leveling up gives you survivability. It's very minute, but wherever you put a point, you will get a point of defense. But this game is a lot more simplistic in its delivery of when you level up a stat, it gives you a bonus. In this game, you level up a stat, it basically increases the damage of a weapon or a weapon set. There's some more ins and outs than that, but that's pretty much the basics of it. So now we're going to continue on. I want to find that armor set that I mentioned earlier. Can't believe how much damage the Molotov cocktails. It's nuts. So you'll notice he died that time instead of living with a magic pixel of health. That's indicative of my strength increasing for my weapon, which also implies that general levels increase your damage ever so slightly, even when you're not putting into the stat of the weapon. Come here. The blood animation is fantastic, I've always thought. This is bad. Ooh, that was Very lucky. These aren't the easiest to parry, but they mostly only have frontal conal attacks like that, so you can just dodge past them. This is me just tricking on him. Whoa! They always like to follow up like that too. You can, once you know enemies well enough in this game, they're decently easy to kill, but in the beginning when you don't know attack patterns and you start freaking out and you button mash, it will kill you. This game is very punishing with regard to button mashing. If you button mash, you're gonna die. You have to be very calm, collected, meticulous with the way you play. Not so much in Dark Souls, because you could have a shield in that game, so if you freaked out, you could just put up your shield and hope for the best. In this game, you pretty much your only panic defense is running, or like frantically dodging away from an enemy. But they even saw through that, and they make some enemies have such a frontal assault in the way that they attack that dodging away from an enemy will get you killed. It's a very punishing game. And I played through this game, I think, 3 times before I figured out that this was here. Oh! Ooh. So that was a traded visceral. Another thing about, see, I'm making this look kind of easy, but it's not as easy as it seems. If you play through this game the first time, landing parries is, it's a very specific skill that once you learn to do it, you catch on to it pretty quick with most enemies. But generally speaking, these enemies would be very hard to kill if you just tried to run up and dodge and slash them to death. Precision! I don't think there's anything over there. It's just rats for no reason. Gross. You can't parry bosses. But you can, and there's this new uniform, which is amazing. Let's give it a read. One of the standard articles of hunter attire fashioned at the workshop, a fine piece of hunter attire that provides stable defense to anyone facing Yharnam's beastly threat. Recognizable by its withered feathers, this cap is fashioned after one of the old hunters. One of the standard articles of attire, a fine piece of hunter attire, provides stable defense to anyone facing Yharnam's beastly threat, allows one to stalk beasts unannounced by cover of night. That actually doesn't mean anything. This doesn't make you sneakier. There's no speed stat or sneak stat. This is kind of a canonical, lorical point to make that this is the clothing that hunters use in Yharnam. No new dialogue there, or text there. No new text there. So this just looks fantastic, and also it doesn't clip your hair out. If you'll notice on the other uniform with the hood, if you put the hood on, your hair disappears, so you're bald under it. It looks so stupid. We're not gonna worry about these because they're just assholes. We could go up here first. I need to respond to my friend because he keeps messaging me. There we go. One thing to notice about Yharnam, this is a very decadent city. The construction of this must have taken hundreds of years, and this is just a small portion of it. Yharnam is a vast city, vast. And it's interesting to note that this hunt, being an annual thing, biannual thing, maybe a decadal thing, it never really alludes to the time in between hunts, is it's a culturally accepted event. people know to go inside. People know that the hunters will walk around killing awful, terrible bird creatures and people who have succumbed to the plague. So that's a takeaway, because in Dark Souls it's completely different. There's no life in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, all the games, you're effectively maneuvering your way through the ruins of a civilization. Like, everything is kaput, everything's done, everything's dead. And there's more of a darker feel to it, because there is no salvation at hand. You know, there is no coming back from whatever has happened. But in this game, it makes you feel like, all right, well, if I finish the hunt, I kill the big bad, then everything will go back to normal. And the place isn't exactly in ruin either. It's pretty well kept.
Wretched outsider. Trying to fool me boys in this door. Heaven's depths of depravity. Wretched, I cried.
Nobody trusts the outsiders. There are reasons later on that explain through item descriptions and just kind of events that allude to this particular hunt being like the worst hunt that Yharnam has ever seen. Most notably the fact that it's not over by the time you get here. One would think or venture a guess that if this was kind of an annual thing or a cyclical event, oh, that's another player by. These ghosts are other players in their games. If it was a cyclical event, you would think that this kind of thing, dangerous be it, kind of like running of the bulls, but unavoidable and much more dangerous, would be taken care of quicker and with more personnel. You'd think there'd be governmental action involved behind it. It's confusing.
Are you? I don't know your voice, but I know that smell. Are you a hunter? Please will you look for my mum? Daddy never came back from the hunt, and she went to find him, but now she's gone too. I'm all alone and scared.
I'll find her.
Oh, thank you. My mum wears a red jeweled brooch. It's so big and
I wonder if you can see
You won't
inside
miss
the...
it. Oh,
I think you
mustn't
can.
forget. If you find my mum, give her this music box.
Oh, those aren't tears, those are
It
bottles,
plays
damn it.
Daddy's favourite songs. And when Daddy forgets us, we play it for him so he remembers.
Oh.
Mum's so silly when I'm off without it. My mum wears it so big. Oh, and if you find these.
So she gives us this music box. The music box is an item that you can use on the next boss to get him to be distracted for a moment. You can only use it once. It's somewhat useful if you're looking for a backstab, but it's not necessary. The tiny music box. A small music box received from a young Yharnam girl plays a song shared by her mother and father. Inside the lid is a small scrap of paper, perhaps an old message. Two names can be made out, however faintly. Viola and Gascoigne. Gascoigne is the boss. We're gonna put that on. Oh, we picked up, are these different? Yeah, so this is different cold blood. The strong will produces thick blood. Doubtless, the product of obsession, a potent source of human strength. Madman's knowledge. So this will give you, this is an itemized consumable for insight. Skull of a madman, touched by the wisdom of the great ones. Used to gain insight. Making contact with eldritch wisdom is a blessing. For even if it drives one mad, like it did to this guy, it allows one to serve a grander purpose for posterity. So there are, behind the curtains, the world behind the world, eldritch great old ones in this game, and they come into play much later. This game the plot kind of evolves in two phases, if you will. The first being you're just a member of the hunt and you're trying to seek pale blood to be strong. But as you go along and you uncover more secrets, it becomes evident that the second phase of the game is this whole thing is under the control of the great ones, and not that they're evil. You find out they're just kind of trying to live, but it's very Lovecraftian in its delivery. It's very good. We're we're gonna open up this shortcut here and then call it quits for this video. The beautiful thing about Bloodborne and the FromSoft games is their worlds are interconnected and kind of labyrinthian in nature, but they always have shortcuts that revolve back on themselves. So for example here, this is an elevator which will lead us back up to the very first lamp that we sat at, which will then give you a straight shot to the second boss. So they're very nice with their run backs to the bosses. Anyways, thank you for watching. In the next episode we will probably try to kill Gascoigne. He's a weak point for me because I'm not very good at killing him. But we'll see. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.